So we are fortunate to have a very special guest on the very special episode, the number one episode of this series, Mr. Sumit Gupta, co-founder and CEO of CoinDCX, which is India's first unicorn crypto exchange. Welcome, Mr. Gupta, to this series.
Thank you, Rohil. Thank you. Pleasure to be a part of the show, and especially the first episode. Very excited to be here today.
Absolutely. So this is, we call it Founders Lounge because normally a founder is somebody who always talks the number game, who's always talking about the strategy part. This is a mix of both. It is the founder and the person behind the founder. We have combined the two. I want to understand the inspiration that led you to start CoinDCX. How was the journey? What made you start this?
Sure, Rohil. Let me go back in the past and take you through how the journey has been like for me, especially starting right from the background, and then we'll be able to connect the dots. So about my background, Rohil, you just want to not many people know about it. So I my background is basically I was born in a village near Shivpuri, right, and that is a very small sort of society without any hospitals or schools or electricity. भी वहाँ पे दिन के 2 घंटे आता था. That is where I was born. Stayed there for like 3-4 years. When I was like 4 and 5, my dad got a government job, and then we moved जहाँ पे उनका सर्विस लगा था, right? So in the early days, until I remember until 4th, I was in a Hindi medium school, typical middle class family, small dreams, and like we were very happy and satisfied, content with whatever we had. A black and white television, DD TV ka subscription aata tha, and then had a second hand bicycle. So everything was going chill in life, right? But I was also I was a person who used to read a lot. Life में कुछ बड़ा करना है, and if you want to achieve bigger things in life, it's also important to dream big. It's important to dream big, and that is basically the start, for you to act upon, and then actually achieve bigger things in life. So I took a chance to see if I can make that happen, and I started analyzing myself. And of course now I can articulate it, but that time it was more like realize later on that I'm the sort of person who is like little ambitious in nature. I don't know if it's good or bad, but something like I don't want to do things which are traditional or which are like हर किसी को करना है, like little ambitious, like who is not afraid to take the unconventional route. हाँ, थोड़ा हटके करते हैं because normal, like it's fine, but the real excitement is in doing things which are unconventional, which are leading to bigger impacts, right? Larger than life, so that's the kind of life I wanted to live. But I mean, talking about what drives me as a person, right? It's largely doing things which are unconventional in nature, which are transformative in nature, right? Wanted to and then later on when I got more deeper into this thought process, right, sort of realized that okay, didn't want to do something which is quite common, wanted to do something which will bring a positive change to the world. And given my background, you would also understand that money is really not a motivation for me, right? I'm happy with whatever resources I have. ज़्यादा कुछ खर्चा है भी नहीं, and once you do IIT, you don't really need to care a lot about jobs, कि हाँ job लगेगा कि नहीं लगेगा. Like that कहीं ना कहीं तो job लगी जाए, कोई ना कोई company तो job दे देगी. Right. So your support is there, right? That if something doesn't work out, you will anyway get a job. Yeah. Now the thing is that okay, when your support is established, what more than can you do, right? What are the bigger things in life can you do? And then that is basically when I started even like preparing for IIT. There is a very interesting anecdote, right? It was a very dynamic sort of life that I have lived so far, and I am very happy and satisfied with the kind of decisions that I have made in the past, and will continue to do that.
Now, of course, I think you are also giving us a sense into the mind of the entrepreneur कि भाई नई चीजें try करनी है, अपने से बड़ी चीजें try करनी है. Of course, I think that's what the mind of an entrepreneur is. पर मुझे लगा जो आपने मुझे बताया कि आप बहुत ही शरीफ बच्चे थे, first venture, कुछ मतलब ऐसा वैसा, nothing like कोई शरारतें नहीं. Seems like that, right? Great.
बिल्कुल नहीं. 12th तक तो बहुत सीधा focus and just focusing on my goals. क्या करना है, पढ़ाई करना है तो पढ़ाई. So that is how I was. So I sort of moved back to India and then started brainstorming कि अच्छा ठीक है, what are the problems, and the goal was always to build for the nation, serve for the nation. India में कुछ करते हैं because I love India and then always wanted to solve problems for the country. And then I've seen most of these from my background. I've seen those problems right from the ground up. Because coming from a background, where जहाँ पे you don't even have resources right at your disposal, like seeing all the way till IIT and doing a job in Sony, you have seen a journey, right? And in that journey you've seen अच्छा यहाँ पे ये problem है यहाँ पे, so that used to come naturally to me, यार यहाँ पे ये problem है, let me try to solve that. And I used to be like, okay, this is the area, let me see if I can solve that. So वहाँ पे like I didn't understand the word startup क्या होता है, and if I can actually make it a business, right? So but it was like largely problem solving, which I absolutely love. Even today I love. I see business as sort of even at CoinDCX, I see business as series of solving small problems. And the interesting thing is these problems are not of a particular nature or a particular dimension. आपको आज regulation का problem है, कल आपको tech team से बात करना है, वो problem है. And then day after you are solving problems some of different nature. किसी one of the employee has some problem, then you are solving their problems also. So it's a world full of these exciting problem statements, and I get very excited about this, right? Because it just keeps you, it just tells you that how the world is going, and then you are not solving problems of a particular nature. If I'm doing a job, then अगर मैं coder हूँ, तो मैं सिर्फ coding algorithms बना रहा हूँ. I'm just solving that. But I like solving problems of different nature, and that is where startup sort of fitting really well into what I want to do in life. तो हमने सोच लिया कि यार अब इसमें कुछ करते हैं. Let's see, this is an industry which is definitely going to evolve. And we would want to make our mark by being and contributing to this space.
Right. Tell me, Sumit, जब आप initially when you started to get into crypto, it was too early a stage in India as well. थोड़ा सा वक्त से पहले की बात है. अभी everybody knows about it, but that time it was a little early. It was a little ahead of its time. So how was that bit, raising funds, convincing people? Was it a task for you at that point?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Big task. And that is what, as a person, I enjoy a lot, right? Simple चीज़ें तो हो ही जाती है. Like if you are able to do things which are challenging, right? It's of course, I mean, you will fail or you will succeed. I mean, that's more important than that, I think, is the journey of it is what makes it exciting. And yes, crypto was a very new space back then, and then people were not talking about it. There was hardly anyone in my close network who was talking crypto every night, day and night. And then it was nowhere close to what we see today. Aajkal to every 19-year-old or young person you talk to, they would know about it, right? उस टाइम पे कोई बात नहीं करता था, right? And there was huge gap. Even for me personally, जब मैं crypto में नया था, I used to spend like 5-6 घंटे every day, at least 5 to 6 hours every day, try to understand, digest the concept myself. It is a complex topic, right? Now people have made it simpler, but back then it was like no resources available online, so it was very challenging. And backed by the strong belief that this is going to be a big industry in future. So and then again, like investors I used to talk to, they were like, okay, India में तो regulation है नहीं, and regulation तो बहुत दूर की बात है, like there was not even a market, right, in India उस समय पे. And then yes, it was challenging. We had our fair share of experience talking to people, explaining them about what this concept, whole concept of crypto is, why it is important, why there is a need for decentralization, why there is a need for us to give power back in the hands of people, why our centralized institutions have a single point of failure, all the way right from the first principles. And then वो चलता गया, and then it just happened one step at a time. We spoke to investors as well. They were not convinced of the idea. We spoke to other investors. Then RBI banking ban came, जहाँ पे banks were not allowed to deal with crypto businesses. Investors backed out, and then we're like, okay, let's not give up. Let's talk to more investors. 80% of the people we knew in our network, who were interested to work in this space, they sort of backed out. कि अभी तो इंडिया में अभी ये सब challenges हैं. Let's not continue it further. Let's take a pivot and do something in other areas. Let's do a startup in other areas. But we were like that sense of belief and that this is going to be big in India just kept us moving, and then we continued to work on it and remain persistent to what we still feel today. Right, that this is going to be a big change, and it is going to shape the future of finance, and the government is also getting serious about it. So one thing that I feel, and I strongly believe that will happen, is you'll see very clear regulatory guidelines across the globe. It's already happening. It's already happening in the West. We'll also see that happening in India as well. You will see larger clarity around crypto as an asset class, the definition of it, the text guidelines, and also like how the industry is going to be regulated. So this is one very clear trend that I see happening in India, especially. You will see a lot more regulatory clarity,
Right.
and that is happening because the participation between the policy makers and the industry is also increasing over time. So this is a good sign, great signal for India as a nation, and this is basically what will lead to India being an innovation-led economy where India is now open to these emerging technologies. So this is one clear trend that I'm seeing. Second trend that I'm seeing is, and this is talked about in the media quite often, is the rise of CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. Mm-hmm. China, as a big nation, is already talking about it, has started even pilots, right? And then seeing how it can facilitate cross-border payments, how it can facilitate in financial inclusion. Now imagine someone sitting in a corner of a village in the country. They don't have access to bank account because HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank branch wahan pe nahi hai. They will not have access to those services, and banks are also not interested to offer those sort of customers because they don't really fall in the target audience. But crypto as a tool can actually drive larger financial inclusion, and it has a massive impact to play in terms of bringing more people, who have internet but are not connected with the digital economy. So crypto has a tremendous role to play there. I see a lot more effort being done on that front, and CBDC, which is also a move by RBI and the Central Bank of India as well as other countries are being very bullish about it. That is a trend that we will see. More and more countries will sort of start jumping into this, will start experimenting at some level, depending upon where they are at in the sort of development. But I think this is one clear trend that I see happening in the coming years. Right. And then lastly, I think we will see a lot more maturity in this space in terms of institutional adoption. Right, a lot of institutions are also there. It's already happening in US. In India, also we are seeing that sort of excitement in institutions that can they actually have crypto as their part of their portfolio for portfolio diversification. Even I see that in the coming year you will see a lot more traditional finance players integrating with crypto, right? And that has multiple advantages. This is going to add in efficiency, transparency, and will result in efficiency across all dimensions. So the one clear trend that I see is that traditional players, or even non-fintech as well as non-fintech that we talk about in day-to-day lives, whether it is Flipkart or even it is some bank or it is a fintech player like Google Pay or WhatsApp, all of these companies will start also integrating these services and products in some way or the other. So these are the three clear trends that I see emerging in the coming year.
No, absolutely. I mean, there's no denying that there's a robust growth lined up for this industry, which is right now the discourse is also around the legal framework, for this industry. It's still going on, it's being debated. As an expert and someone who is into this domain in a very big way, in your view, what is the ideal approach for the government to take to address the legal framework?
Absolutely, very, very interesting point, Rohil. And I think this is even more important in the present world where all of these developments are happening globally. I think that's a great sign. That's a great sign for the nation. And then I think the way to look at it is, right, because it's a very new industry. It's a very new industry which evolves really fast. There's massive, innovation happening at a rapid pace globally. It's also important for us to be well aware of what are the developments that are happening outside, right? What are the guidelines or what are the things that are already solved outside, and so that we can learn from that and implement into the country. And the smart way to solve that, right? I think it's twofold, right? One is you are open to approach which is very fluid and open in nature. I mean, you cannot set boundary conditions because the rate at which industry is going globally, you will not know what will happen 5 years down the line, right? We are at an industry where we are at the verge of financial disruption. There's so much development happening. There's so many mega experiments that are happening underway, around the globe. We cannot predict, what will happen 5 years. I mean, nobody knew that, NFTs will be something as popular 3 years back. So right. Having a rigid framework is not going to serve the purpose. You need to have a very fluid framework, which is, quite flexible so that we can continue to innovate and build upon that. I think that is going to give India a very strong edge to lead the revolution. I think the way to do that, and that's the second point that I like to highlight, is the smartest way to do that is by fostering dialogue between the policymakers, between the government and the industry players. You need to have this very strong bridge so that whatever developments that are happening on the ground goes back as a input metric to the policymakers, so that they know, okay, what is the ground reality? They know what are the developments that are happening globally. What can we learn from them, and how can we use all of those data points to shape a very strong and fluid yet progressive framework, so that India continues to innovate in this in this space, keeping the consumer interest in mind. Like, for example, all of these investors are new. How can we educate these people, right? So a lot of these problems have to be solved because such a big industry, and it can be very well solved by keeping the industry as a stakeholder in those discussions, and they can take the inputs from the industry and then do what is best for the nation. That's what I believe is going to be extremely beneficial for all of us as a country.
Right. So, when you mentioned the word NFTs, which is a word in fashion right now, So, give me a sense that do you believe NFTs, smart contracts, and asset tokenization have a future in India?
See, I fundamentally believe anything which takes the world to an efficient state is going to work in future. Anything which is more efficient is going to survive, and is going to thrive in the current world. Initially we used to call with text, we used to text SMSs, and that was like costing us 1 rupee or 50 paisa, and that was expensive. And then WhatsApp came, it just changed the entire thing. Now it's all free. People adopted to it. Reading blogs is difficult, it takes time. Watching a video is more efficient. Again, works. So anything which is efficient, the world moves in a direction of efficiency, right? Across all these things that you see, all of these innovations, whether it is NFTs or a smart contract or asset tokenization, is actually making the world more efficient. It is helping people do their job better.
So you have a great journey. You're totally a self-made man. I mean, you told us about the journey that you had. What is your success mantra, and who is your inspiration?
What is my success mantra? I'm not really sure if there's one mantra to it. I think the larger, thing I believe in is that you dream big, you think big, and then you take smaller steps in terms of achieving that dream. Nothing comes overnight. You need to work really hard in terms of making sure that you are giving your best, you are giving your level best, you remain persistent, and you continue to put in all the work that you can, right? Just give all in, just go all in into whatever you have dreamt of, right. So it's like thinking big and then working towards that. I think it's just what make people successful.
And who inspires you? Who's your inspiration?
I take learning from everyone, all the way from someone who has started up and who even failed. I take learnings from them. Even successful people, who have built massively successful businesses out there in the country and even outside. I take inspiration from that. So rather than talking about one specific role model, I am a person who takes learnings from everyone, takes the good part, sees what is relevant to me, absorbs it, digests it, and just moves on and see how I can implement those learnings in my day-to-day life.